Now the course objective of this Physics 2 course for CSE and IT student is that is to introduce topics, okay, is to apply quantum mechanics for learning the latest of computation called quantum computation, learn quantum logic gates. Is to, as a student, you get comprehend about the hardware sectors of your devices, okay, the storage, display part, and also the latest storage devices. The entire electronics is moving very fast, and that is because of the revolution in semiconductors and now the nano devices, okay. So an introduction to that, so that will be another objective of this course. And also this entire communication system, okay, it's based on the electromagnetic theory, okay. So we'll also provide you some glimpses of electromagnetic theory, because later on you have got courses on the analog communication and digital communication, okay. Now the major course outcome of this Physics 2 course for CSE and IT student is that after undergoing this course, you will be able to explain the electromagnetic theory with your basic knowledge of electrostatics, magnetostatics and electromagnetic theory. You will be able to explain the most modern computing devices using the latest idea of quantum mechanics and quantum mechanics principle. You will be able to explain the operation of the most modern storage devices, how it evolved from the magnetic storage to semiconductor devices. You will be able to judge the requirement of the latest material for the purpose of computing, for the circuit design, and for the storage material, that is the ideas of nanomaterials. Okay, so let us, and this is closely connected with your own program, so you can get that in the course outcome, program outcome mapping also. On the screen you can see the various modules that are present in this course, and you can also see the module that we will be starting with. We'll start with one of the promising modules of the course, as well as you can also see the topic that we will begin with. And in this particular class, whatever we'll be focusing on, the related prerequisite, what is the objective of the class, and if at the end of the class you're supposed to get something from me, that is the outcome of the session. So that session outcome also you can see on the screen. If you, from the previous class, therefore you get two major ideas. Obviously the first concept is wave particle duality, which tells a known wave can be matter-like, light can be photon-like, that is studied in photoelectricity. X-ray can be photon-like, that is studied in Compton effect. So those ideas are there. Now Dubreuil is telling the opposite, that a matter can be wave-like, and if a matter becomes a wave, its wavelength should be the Dubreuil wavelength. So this is a very important idea, and it has been proved through that electron diffraction experiment, okay, that a matter can show wave nature. So it is an accepted fact now. You can see that beautiful animation, okay, there is a electrons orbiting around, okay. So there is a wave of electron. So question mark was that what, it's a wave of what? Answer we have given, it's a wave of probabilities. I mentioned in your previous few classes also that in nature 4 things can happen. A matter can show the property of matter, that is collision. A wave can show the property of wave, that is superposition, interference. And a matter can show, wave can show the property of matter, that is the photonic nature, okay, just like Compton effect, X-ray photons are making collision with electron. And those things in my class I have taught you that issue of how to consider the particle nature of a wave. In Newton has taught you the idea of how to take care of the material nature of matter, collision, etc. And wave nature of wave, you studied interference. Which you have not studied properly, or which you are not aware of, is this last issue, the wave nature of a matter, which was dreamed by Dubreuil, which has been proved by Davison and Jama, but we hardly know how to take care of the situation. So that is the focal point of this class, basically, to discuss this wave nature of the matter. So that means if I present it in a diagram, suppose an electron is moving with some mass m, some velocity v, some momentum p. So if I am describing electron like this, electron is a matter, because these are all material property. It will collide with another electron. This is an accepted issue. What I am trying to tell, that in our class we do not focus on that issue, because how two matters collide, that we know from Newtonian mechanics. What is the focus of this class is that green arrow. We focus on the electron. Okay, fine, there is an electron, but in my class it will show the wave in nature, and wavelength is described by that de Broglie wavelength lambda is equal to h by p. This is something uncanny. This is something unusual. So these are the electron waves. Okay, S wave, P wave, D wave. You studied in chemistry, and I told you this is nothing but the probability wave of the electrons. I have made a long recapitulation the other day, that these are the variety of wave. Wave means disturbance, fluctuation, variation. Just like AC signal is a vibration of electric field, magnetic field, electromagnetic field is, this is alternating magnetic field, and electric and magnetic field together makes the electromagnetic wave. So to make any wave, something has to vary. So you wish to know that who is varying and making this wave nature of the matter. And you know, matter that we talk about in quantum mechanics is not train bus. We are talking about small electron. So that tiny size of the electron, you can see those electrons are moving. Okay, they are very large in number in a metal for that matter. So because of that tiny size, because electrons are moving, it's a mechanics problem. Just like here, electron is moving, it's a mechanics problem. But at the end of the day, if you have to describe the dynamics of the electron, motion of the electron, it's a problem of motion, it's a problem of rotation. Your problem is that you cannot see the electron. If any object, large object is moving, you can see it. You have got your classical physics to help you to describe the rotation. But here the basic and fundamental problem is that matter is too small an object to see. So that's why you take chance to find out the electron. Chances will vary from point to point, as I have presented this picture. As electron is moving at a given point, chance of finding the electron is varying at every time. So if you only choose a particular point and plot the chance of finding the electron, it will be depending, it will be changing, just like in this picture. Okay, the chance of finding the electron is changing every time. Okay, it is varying, the chance of finding the electron. You can see the chance of finding the electron is changing, it is varying. At a given point, sometimes chance is becoming higher, chance is becoming lower. Any variation, any change makes a wave. So it's a wave of chances. At a given point, chance of finding the electron or chance of finding the object, for that matter in general, makes the variation of chances. So you see, it's at a given point. You can see also in the picture. You see there is a vertical line. You look at the line itself. At that point, the probability or chance of finding the electron is varying every time. You can see the top picture. You see that spot is moving. That is, the electron is moving. That means it's a beautiful animation, beautiful picture. Okay, the electron is moving. Okay, at a given point. Therefore, if you want to show what is the chance of finding the electron, it is varying. So any variation, any fluctuation makes a wave. So it's a wave of chances. Chance in a better language is called probability. So it's a wave of probability. So the wave we talk in a quantum mechanics course is not the usual wave. It's a probability wave. Okay, it's a wave of probabilities. Okay, but I told you with some more examples the other day. Okay, fine. These are the more other type of examples. Wave of probability waves. Now this is the electron wave. Okay, just now I told you electron is moving. So at a given point, probability of finding the electron is varying every time. Okay, so that is making the wave probability wave, S wave, P wave. So if you look at this picture, at that point, say at the vertical line, as the matter is moving, probability is varying. So it makes a probability wave. Point is that you see, if you look at the wave, it is something. Let's look at this wave. Sometimes it is becoming plus or minus. Probability cannot be negative. So that quantity which is varying is defined as the function called a wave function, which is represented by psi. It's a function of space and time because it is changing in space as the matter is moving in space. So obviously wave pattern is changing in space, and also it is a function of time. Okay, after some time everything might change. Okay, so therefore the chance is probability of finding is given by particle is given by mod psi square. If it is large object is there, a small object is not there. This is called Bond's interpretation. This gives total probability equal to 1. You can see this is psi square. Now you see the probability
chance of, you see, the variable, the varying, that matter is moving, so chance of finding the object is varying. Okay, so but that variable I am calling as any function psi, so it's so that its square modulus is always positive. So therefore, in a problem, therefore, knowing this wave function is very important, because suppose that this problem, I wish to know where the electron is. So I have to get wave function of the electron, psi of the electron. If I take the square modulus of psi, just like this case, you see the picture, you can see the psi is varying. Okay. Now if I to know, but it is psi can be plus and minus. Okay, you can see there also this picture. Okay, you see matter is moving. Okay, so as the matter moves, its corresponding chance of finding the matter for that matter is also varying. Variation makes a wave, but that is can be both plus and minus if you plot it in a graph. But because its probability cannot be negative, so you say the variable may be a function psi. So in a that psi square will give you the actual probability of finding the particle. So therefore, it's a real problem. Suppose an electron is moving around the nucleus. So your first job is to therefore to get the function psi, because if you then take mod psi square, you could develop an idea where the object is. Okay. So knowing psi is therefore the key. So today actually we'll focus on this. Suppose this is the electron is moving. I wish to get psi. So how do I get the wave function? Okay. So that is the focal point of the class. How do you get the function? Now for that purpose, I actually want to knock at your basic mathematical background. All of you have got a lot of mathematical idea, mathematical knowledge, and you solved a bit of differential equation solution also. You solve variety of other topics of mathematics also. So in this juncture, I want to know psi, the wave function is a function. Now the question is that, my question is that how do I get it in a problem? So my question to you is that how do you get any function in mathematics? What is your answer? Yes. What is your answer? If how do you get, suppose I have got a function fx, how do you get this in mathematics? In usual mathematics, you get a function by solving an equation, differential equation. Maybe second order, maybe first order, depending on the nature. But ultimately, you have to solve a differential equation to get the function, any function fx, just like this. If you integrate this differential equation, you will get the function. So technique is that you have to resolve a differential equation, you have to solve a differential equation to get any function. So similarly here also, psi is a mathematical function. Okay. So to get psi, therefore you have to solve a differential equation. Now that differential equation looks like this. Now this equation was proposed long back by an Austrian scientist at a dinner party, you know, in 1926 by Austrian scientist. His name is Erwin Schrödinger. Now Schrödinger proposed this equation. This equation does not look good at a single glance, but you know, this is the equation of motion of a particle in quantum mechanics. If you look at the equation, you will notice there are so many terms. H cat means Planck constant by 2 pi, m is the mass of the particle moving, 2 is a number, double derivatives are there, and you see nature of derivative is partial because psi is a two variable function. Vx is called potential energy term. How it influences your problem we'll discuss very soon. And I squared del psi del t I is root over minus 1. So this equation is popularly known as the Schrödinger's Schrödinger equation. Okay. And the idea is that if you have to solve any problem in quantum mechanics, you have to solve this equation. Now, can anybody tell me what is the order of this equation? What is the order of this equation? The order of the equation is that you see del 2's are there. So obviously the order of the equation is it's a second order differential equation. It's a second order differential equation and it's a first degree differential equation. So that means the equation that is the basic equation of quantum mechanics called Schrödinger equation, it's a second order first degree partial differential equation. You can see that. So point is that if you have to stay in a quantum mechanics class, your job is to solve this equation. You have to learn how to solve this differential equation, because only after solving this differential equation you can solve problems in quantum mechanics. Because if I solve this equation, I will get the function psi, and if I know psi, I can take psi square, develop an idea about how the object is. You can do many more things with psi. Okay, I'm just giving a glimpse of it. Everything, many more things you can do with psi. Okay, so therefore getting psi is most important issue. So how do you get psi? By solving this equation and the meaning of it, all the terms I mentioned. Now question is that how do you solve this equation? So before you solve this equation, I want to make you remember one more issue. Now you can remember what is this problem? It's a physics problem. A train is moving, so it's a mechanics problem. Now if you have to know where the train will go after some time, how to predict my answer my question? Or suppose there is another train moving. Suppose two trains are moving in opposition, can they collide? That is a question. Now another question is that when these two trains will meet with each other. So these are all physics problems. Okay. So how do you solve this type of question? In suppose some man is walking. The way he is walking, you can see when he will reach at the destination, I do not know. But by looking at the motion, maybe for some 1 or 2 minutes, you can develop an idea. Okay, what is the speed, etc., etc. Now, to describe this motion, suppose the train, that right hand side train is moving, where it will go after 1 hour. To answer this question, I have to do it a little bit predictive, as I often say. And how do you answer this question? By solving a differential equation proposed by Newton's second law. Now look at, this is the Newton's second law, force equal to rate of change of momentum. Now I can write down this equation in this form. Okay, you can, this is the form of the equation, F is equal to m dv dt, which is nothing but F is equal to m d2x dt2. So this equation is nothing but a differential equation. So you can write down d2x dt2 is equal to f by m. Okay, you can write down in this way. So if you look at the equation of Newton also, it is a differential equation. And what is the order of this equation in the right side? It is also a second order first degree differential equation. So if you have got a classical mechanics problem, a train moving or a spring vibrating, you can see there are so many examples I have given. A block is vibrating under the string, so the force is there like minus kx type force. Right hand side you see the concept of restoring force is given. A ball is under spring. Okay, it is passing through some particular point, so there is a oscillation going on. So to describe this oscillation, first thing you need to know the force. So you can calculate the force because these are all elastic problem. Suppose you write down F is equal to minus kx. So you can now describe the problem. Okay, so the idea is that if you look at this particular equation, this equation is valid for any classical mechanics problem. Maybe a block moving, maybe a train moving, maybe a bus moving. This is ultimately Newton's second law. If you integrate this equation twice, you will get the position at a given time. If you integrate it once, you will get the velocity at a given time, and that means you can describe the problem. Only thing you have to know the force. Say for this problem, force will be the restoring force minus kx type of force. So you are in a position here to solve the problem. So what I am trying to tell you, if you are solving a classical mechanics problem like a moving spring or moving train, then Newton is very good. Okay, the equation of Newton, force equal to mass into acceleration, m d2 is very good, very helpful. And what is the order of this equation? Second order first degree differential equation. Now the message is that if you are living in classical physics, there also you have to solve the second order first degree differential equation. And if you are living in quantum mechanics and matter is showing probability wave, etc., etc., there also you have to solve the second order first degree differential equation. This is the equation of Schrodinger. You please see, this is the equation of Schrodinger. It is also second order first degree differential equation. And the Newtonian equation, which is equal to F is equal to m d2 is 2, there is also second order first degree differential equation. So structurally speaking, there is no difference between the two ideas. Two ideas means the level of differential equation. Newtonian equation that you use to describe the large object mechanics, it's good. and that equation is a second order first degree differential equation. Now we are talking about mechanics of microscopic world, where a matter is exhibiting wavy nature described by a mathematical function psi. Okay, so we want to get psi, so we have to solve a differential equation. Now that equation is a Schrodinger equation, as you can see in the picture. That is the equation of Schrodinger. This equation is a second order first degree differential equation, and if you have to solve a classical mechanics problem where force equal to m d2 x dt2, that is also second order differential equation. So what I am trying to tell you, if you are living in classical physics or you may be living in quantum physics, any problem you solve a second order first degree differential equation. In classical physics, that was Newtonian equation, and now in quantum mechanics, that equation is the beginning of quantum mechanics, that is the Schrodinger equation. So classical physics begins with Newton, and quantum mechanics problem or quantum physics begins with Schrodinger. Okay. So anything you do, any problem we will be solving now, it will be mere application of this quantum idea, because that is the starting point of classical quantum world. If you solve this equation, then you will get psi. After knowing psi, you can calculate many things, many parameter of motion. One simple parameter is take psi square to know where the object is. Okay. So these options are there, but getting psi is the most important issue. Okay. So how do you get psi in a problem? Just now I discussed this. We are beyond Newton now. Okay, we are using the ideas of this. Is so many Newtonian mechanics problem I presented. You see, everywhere force you have to calculate and describe the problem. Okay, Newton is very good. Second order first degree differential equation, and in a Schrodinger equation class also, where an electron is moving, there your equation is a Schrodinger equation. Okay, so if you look at the picture, if you have got a big matter moving, you can describe the motion by knowing the force is there, the acceleration is there, everything is given. Okay, now you can describe this problem, any problem, and these are more second level of problem maybe, but everywhere structurally your job is same. You have to know the force, solve different second order differential this second order differential equation and describe the problem. Okay, so major change is coming in the perception basically. That is in this this equation of Schrodinger that we have been talking about. It is only applicable for this microscopic world, electronic world. So there you can, just like electron is moving, there your Newtonian ideas are not good enough. Classical mechanics fails there, as I told you last year also. So therefore, to describe this type of problem, my working hand is the equation of Newton. Okay. So to describe the problem, say electron is moving, there my basic equation is Schrodinger equation, because that is going to give me the chance of finding the electron by knowing psi square. So I have to know psi first. Okay. After knowing psi, you can do many more things. Okay. So this equation you have to solve, that is expected to give you the function psi. Now, if you look at this equation, there is one unknown point that is mentioned here. That is the value of the potential energy V. V is potential energy. You see, this is a beautiful picture. Okay, what is the potential energy? Mg into h. You know from classical physics. Here Mg matters. You can see, but height is very low. So potential energy term may not be too high because of the h. Okay, m and g may be whatever be the value you choose. Okay. Now the question comes in. Okay, this is force into distance like that. Okay. So this is the expression of the potential energy. Okay, force in distance. If the idea I shared you also in a problem, what will be the value of V? It will vary from problem to problem. Suppose there is no force acts on the body. I told you earlier also, if force acts on a body, then what would happen? It requires potential energy. Now, if no force acts on the body, it does not. Okay, no force acts on the body. So obviously, there is no effective force acting on the body, means the corresponding potential energy term, which is like force into distance type of quantity, F is equal to minus dv dx, F is equal to minus grad V. So if you integrate potential energy, you will get the value of the force. Oh, sorry, if you integrate force, you will get the value of the potential energy. I'm telling the opposite. So in the force term is therefore very important. If force is there, you will get some non-zero potential energy. If force is no force, external force is there, system itself has got no potential energy. Okay. So when you'll be solving problem, so you can at least get an idea from problem to problem my V is going to change. Okay, because electron itself maybe will be under different condition. When electron, for example, you are solving this problem, electron is moving on the nucleus. So electron is under Coulombic forces. Okay, so it is under some force. Okay, so the idea is that, but still you have to write down the equation, you have to solve it, you can do many more things. Okay, so therefore knowing psi by solving the equation of Schrodinger is very important, because it is the basic equation. You have to use this equation. Okay, okay, you have to, it's a very simple equation, you have to solve this equation. Okay, and the role of V I just mentioned. Okay, you can see these are more examples are given here. Now the question is that how do you solve this equation? This is a second order equation, it's a first degree equation, it's a partial differential equation. So all the complexities in world is there. But you know, for solution purpose, okay, what we can do, we can hide some ideas, okay, of basic mathematics. Okay, what is the first idea? First idea is that you can see there is a multivariable function psi xt. Okay, now our mathematics ideas tells us we can write down psi as a product of two separate function. Okay, suppose I considered a trial solution like a to the power ikx minus omega t. Okay, this is the trial solution, a to the power ikx minus omega t. Okay, and the beauty is that here it depends on two variables, space and time, and that is reflected in the expression of psi. So now I can write down this in this way: a1 e to the power ikx into a2 to the power I minus I omega t. At the first term, e to the power ikx term refers to function of x, and e to the power minus I omega t term refers to the function of t, time. So ultimately, what you are doing, you are writing down psi as a product of two separate functions. One is a function of x, another is a function of t. Psi x ft I have written. So that is the beauty of mathematics. You know, I had a two variable function psi xt, which was depending on x and t. Now we have done a beauty here, that is called separation of variable, which tells us a function like this you can write down as a product of small functions. Just like psi xt is a product of two functions, phi1 psi x and ft. Okay, so therefore our next job is to replace these values of d2 psi dx2 d psi dt and psi in that expression of Schrodinger equation in terms of right hand side values, that is psi x and ft. So what I have to do, I have to replace them. If you replace the value of d2 psi dx2, it will be like f of t minus h square by t will be there, f of t d2 psi dx2, and del psi del t on the right hand side will be here the functional, you can see only time part will be differentiated, df dt, and psi l remaining same. After that we will do the replacement. Okay, if I do the replacement, you can see if f of t, I just put that equation for you, it will be easier for you. So now I have written it, you see it is there. It was not coming initially. I hope you can see it now. Okay. So this is my equation of Schrodinger. So I have replaced this d2 psi dx2 term with the help of this expression in the other page. Just a second. You please see here, I have got the replacement now. D psi dt and d2 psi dx2 you have got, okay, that is f of t d2 psi dx2 I will be replacing there, and f of t is also you have got, so f of t is there. So if you replace it, d2 psi dx2 has been replaced, you can see vx psi means psi in psi xt means psi into f, and right hand side is, you can see there was a IH cut, I missed it, okay, IH cut and d for df, IH cut psi df dt is the expression basically. So what you have to do now, actually, you have to, now whatever you see there is minus h cut square by 2m also. You divide every term with the psi f. If you divide everything with psi and f, so in the left hand side it will be minus h cut square by 2m 1 by psi and the next term. Here vx psi and f, I divide it is 1, and here it is 1 by f. Okay. So basically, this is the form you can see here, final form. See the form of the equation, whatever I told you, d2 psi minus h cut square by 2m d2 psi dx2, it has been replaced there with ft d2 psi dx2 exact derivative. Vx psi x means Vx psi x ft, and right hand side is psi x is in front, that is df dt. Now everything if you divide by that, it becomes like this much. Okay, you can see here the first term is divided by psi and f, so it will 1 by psi kind of thing. Next term v is 1 right hand side, and right hand side df dt, and this is divided by psi into ft. You can see there. Okay, so psi's will cancel, so your equation will take a form like this. Okay, if you cancel the psi's, you'll get an equation like this. Okay, you can see the equation that division was due. Now if you divide everything with psi x ft, you see we are getting this much, minus h cut square by 2m. So ft and ft will cancel, it is 1 by psi d2 psi dx2, and vx, both the terms are there, you can see it is 1, and right hand side, in this case here, the time dependent term is I cut 1 by ft df dt. Okay, I cut 1 by ft df dt. You can see there. Okay, so I've got an equation. You please see, left hand side is all time and right hand side is all x. So you have got an equation whose one side purely depends on x, the other side purely depends on t. Okay, so now why it is possible, because ideally left hand side is depending on the time and right hand side is depending on the space. So I have separated that out. So our job is done. We wanted to write down that complex equation, you can see there also it is available, okay, into simpler form. So that is being tried here. Okay, that complex equation is in much easier form, much simpler form. Okay, so you can see this is my final equation. If you look at the equation, right hand side is all x dependent, left hand side is all time dependent. Now the idea is that if you look at this expression, okay, one side depends on x, the other side only depends on time. Okay, so if you now ask the question when these two sides will be equal, you'll get enormous number of answers, you know, obviously many options are there, but I'll be going, many options are there, say x is 5, t is 4, you understand it. Okay, many options are there. Okay, so that this equal sign exists. Okay, So now normally it is telling that it has to be they should be constant. If you choose x equal to 5, t has to be 4, so that it gets 2020. If x is 10, t has to be 8, so that it gets 40 like that. Okay, so the idea is that mm, uh, I've got an equation. One side depends on time, the other side depends on x. Now both sides should be equal if after all the derivatives, okay, you are getting this type of term, x dependent term and t dependent term. Now common sense tells us they could not be equal. Okay, they could not be equal. Okay, only chance is that they could be equal if x and t are dependent on each other. Suppose x is 5, then t is 4, 20, 20 like that. X is 10, t is 8, t is 8, 40, 40. X is 1 by 4, t is 1 by 5. So depending on the value of the t, x is changing its value. And ultimately, I told you that in normal problem, therefore, if suppose I have got one side x dependent, other side t dependent. So we anticipate that in normal sense, it is telling it they could not be equal because x means position and t means time in our case. And you know, these two are independent variable. I am sitting here for last 45 minutes. So time was not waiting for me. Time has increased. Okay. So whether position of an object is changing or not, it depends therefore on the nature of the problem. Okay. It depends on the nature of the problem. Okay. Basic quantum mechanics tells us the basic mathematics tells me they should be equal if x and t are dependent on each other. But in my problem, you see there, left hand side is time dependent, right hand side is x dependent, position dependent. Now these two variables, okay, x and t, space and time, they are completely independent of each other, okay, and independent in. So that means if you make x equal to 5, t is telling no, I'll remain as 1. Then who will be under trouble? The equal sign will be under trouble. So the logic is that in this equation, this equal sign can only exist if from both sides, from the right side, which is x dependent, I end up with a constant term, and from the left side also we end up with a same constant term. For example, in single case, this I've got a function like f(x square). Now, is it equal to ddt of 10t? Initial answers are obviously that one side x dependent, other side t dependent, all the stories, okay. But if you see, it's a differential equation you are solving, simple differential equation, and after doing a little bit of 2 lines of mathematics, you get an idea. Okay, what is the idea? If I do the derivatives, okay, now the idea is that I am ending up with a constant term, okay, and the beauty of the constant is this, okay. So 10 is a constant. So message is that after all the derivatives, they are at the top of the equation, and the top of the equation is written. On the right side, on x dependent side, after all the derivative, we will end up with a pure constant like the 10 you have written here. Left side also, after all the derivative, we will end up with the same constant. Okay. Okay. If I get the same constant, then only then we are in a meaningful position. So that means that time dependent term will be remaining same as it was, and for the other what is happening, you can see there. Now time part, you can, so the solution is there, and for the space dependent part, you will end up with this equation. Now this equation is a very important equation. Here it is all in terms of x. Okay. So left hand side, after it's a function of all x only. So this is the form of the equation, and right hand side is this equation is the called Schrodinger equation. Okay, in time independent form. You see, there is no nothing like time in this final equation. So this equation is popularly known as the time independent Schrodinger equation. Okay, you can see that I have written it here. Now, in examination, it's a very important question. Write down time dependent equation of Schrodinger, convert this into time independent form. It's a very popular question, and you can do it now also. Will you do it now? Then I can show you how it is done. So let us solve at least. You see this the steps that I have done. Okay, you should know it. Okay, how do you write down, convert this into very easy form? I should share you the related steps. Okay, I have told you also, but you should have a look at. Please look. Just bear with 5-6 minutes, or maybe 2-3 minutes. I'm showing you how it is done. Please see. Okay, so it is very interesting, very funny the way we do it. Now this is minus h cut square by 2m y h cut dt of psi xt. Now we want to convert into simpler form. So let us make an assumption. Let the trial solution be psi xt a exponential, just like you take a to the power I mx type of that type of solution. Now we are choosing this I because it is a wavy solution. That's why we have kept a high, just like c to the power I theta means cos theta plus I sin theta. So I part is taking care of the wavy solution. We can write down this in this way: a1 e to the power ikx 2 e to the power minus omega t. So the first term is a function of x term. Next term is function of t. So therefore, it is written as a product of two separate functions. And that is a better beauty of separation of variable. Okay. So what shall I do now? All terms here, I'll now express it. I now replace it in terms of this term. I replace these psi's in terms of phi's. So if I replace d2 psi dx2, you know from your basic mathematics, it will be like phi to t d2 phi 1 dx2. And if I replace del psi del t, it will be phi 1x d phi 2 dt. So if I do the replacement, if I divide every term here with this, okay, so if I do the replacement, it would be like minus h cat square by 2m. Okay, did you say dx2 will be replaced now? Phi to t d2 phi 1 dx2 plus vx psi is replaced as phi 1x phi to t, and right hand side is h cut del psi del t is replaced by phi 1x. So what you do, divide every term here by phi 1 phi 2. It is as good as getting this term to the right side and getting the phi 1 phi 2 in the other side. So these are the values. Phi 2 is there, okay. Here it is 1 and here phi 1s are cancelled. So the expression now becomes minus h cut square by 2m 1 by phi 1x d2 phi 1 dx2 plus vx, and right hand side is equal to h cut 1 by phi 2t d phi 2 dt. Now you see, look at this equation in box. If you look at this equation in this green box, you'll notice it's an equation. Here in the left hand side, can you see anything like time? No. So this left hand side is a function of x only, and right hand side you cannot see anything like x. So it is a function of t only. Okay, now I've got an equation. As I was mentioning, one side depends on x, the other side depends on t. Then how could we equal? The answer is this much. Suppose I have got an equation like, say, 4x equal to 5t. Now this equal sign can exist depending on these values of x and t. If I make 1 by 4, this will be 1 by 5. If I make x equal to 5, t is equal to 4. If I make x equal to 10, t has to be equal to 8. So what I am doing, if I am choosing the value of x as 1 by 4, then my t has to be equal to 1 by 5. So I am making them dependent on each other. If I am choosing x t is equal to 8, then my x has to be equal to 10. So this dependence is incorporated there, okay. Okay. So at least it is possible here if these two are depending on each other. But in our problem, in our case, x means position, and in other problem, t means time. Okay. So, and you know, x and t, position and time, are two independent variables. And independent variable means even if x changes, t does not bother about that, or opposite. If t changes, x does not bother about that. So the question is that if that is the story, then what would happen? If I've got an equation 4x equal to 5t, suppose x is varying, I will become 1 by 4, and t is telling no, I will become 10. then who will be under danger? This equal sign will be under danger. Okay, this equal sign will be under danger. So then problem is that in my class this is more prominent, because in my class here x means position, and t. So if this idea is that this equal sign can exist if they depend on each other, that is our perception. But we need a situation where this here x means position and t means time in our problem, not this case. This in this form of the equation that we are having now. D2 phi 1 dx2 okay plus vx equal to ih cut d phi to dt. Okay, so this is x dependent, this side is t dependent. Now they are equal. How is it possible? Answer is that it is possible if you have got only one case. This is possible. Only in one case it is possible. What is that case? Suppose I have got an equation d2 dx2 of 5x square, and it is equated with ddt of 10t. You see, after all the derivatives, you will get 10 here. Okay, and here also after all the derivatives, you will get 10. What is the speciality of 10? 10 is a number. Then what is its speciality? Speciality is that it's a constant, and here also after getting all the derivatives done, I get 10. Right hand side also will get the same rate. Okay, it is also 10. So what does it imply? Both of them are actually constant. So that is what is meant for, that these equal sign can exist if this side separately produces a constant, and this side also separately produces a constant. There are only then, just like that same 10. From this side I will get 10, from this side also I will get 10. So 10 10 I will say they are equal. So now therefore you can write down in this way. This side equal to some constant, say E, and right side also that is equal to ih cut d phi to dt is also equal to some constant. You see that initial equation of Schrodinger, now I have separated it. From that single equation I get two equations. One is the equation in terms of t, another is the equation in terms of x. This t equation anybody can solve. Okay, so you can do it very easily. So I like d phi to phi. Okay, e dt like this. Okay, now you can integrate it and get the value of phi 2. It will be like log phi 2 1 by I cut et. So from here on, we can get phi 2 is equal to some constant c to the power minus it by h cat. So that is not a problem. Okay. Now look at this equation in x. Now you compare this equation. You see, I can write down this equation in this way. Plus vx phi 1 because I am multiplying it. E phi 1x. So now this final equation in x is something that you have to take care of in problems, because from problem to problem v is going to vary, so my solution will change. So one small thing to remember, if I now compare this final equation, this is the equation we get finally. Equal to E phi 1x. So this is where we are now. And we started from this equation. Vx psi x equal to I cat. Now, if you compare term by term with this equation in blue, which was the initial equation, and with our equation, which you have just obtained now by using the separation of variable, you see they are very similar. Minus h cat square by 2m minus h cat square by 2m. Okay, double derivative with respect to space, double derivative with respect to space, potential energy, potential energy. So very similar in the left side. Only dissimilarity is that this phi 1 is just a function of x, but here psi depends on both space and time. So this last equation, which is independent of x, time, because time has been separated out, this is popularly known as time independent Schrodinger equation. And this equation, the other equation, this is called time dependent Schrodinger equation. This is the time dependent Schrodinger equation. So what I have done, this is the equation you have to focus on when you'll be solving the problem. Because from problem to problem, this V, the potential energy term will vary and our problem will change. Now I have just completed a 5 marks question of your examination. Write down time dependent Schrodinger equation that is written here and convert into time independent form. So you have to follow the steps. That is, you consider psi as a product of two functions, phi 1 and phi 2. Replace the double derivatives d2 psi dx2 etc etc. You get an equation, one side depends on space, the other side depends on time. It is only possible if both sides are equal to some constant quantity. So that constant I have chosen as E, because later on E will be giving you energy. Okay. So ultimately, if I only look at ultimately x part and t part was separated out. If I only examine the nature of the solution of the problem, okay, that this x dependent part is term by term I compare with the initial equation. You can see it is very similar in both the cases, excepting the functional dependence. Here, the functional dependence the initial equation depends on time. Final equation, obviously, it is only the x part of the equation. Time has been separated out. So the final equation, as you can see on the screen, is the time dependent independent Schrodinger equation, and time dependent one is also written there. Okay. Now we'll be solving problem actually by the help of this final equation, because from problem to problem, v is going to vary. Now, question is that suppose I solve this equation, I get psi. Now, how to get psi? I have obtained psi, but what to do with psi? Because psi is a function only. So that is something you have to focus on. Okay. So if you just get back to the PowerPoint. Okay, this is the final equation. Okay, this is the final equation. So this is our working equation from now on. We'll solve this equation in real problem, but after getting Shai, what you do that is most important. We shall discuss that in the next class. Thank you.